Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kim. I am a buyer and a seller on Poshmark, and today we're going to talk about how to price your listings. When you're pricing your item out, you really want to think about whatever your target price actually is. So for example, if you have an Eliza J dress and you want to get $35 for it, don't price it at $35. Because someone's going to make you an offer below that, and then Poshmark is going to take 20%. So you want to price it higher. And that number is really going to depend on you. I don't have a specific percentage of how much above that you should go. I think that's up to the individual seller. But some of the things I do like to keep in mind is what similar items have sold for before in the app, as well as what other similar items are being listed at. So I always do a little bit of research beforehand. I go on the app, I look for similar listings. Sometimes I find the exact same listing and see what they're getting priced at. And then I also click on the sold listings to see, at what price point someone made a purchase for that item. Another thing to do is obviously going on the internet, whether that's Googling the item and seeing what comes up, seeing, how much that's getting listed for on other sites. Those things can be really helpful because they tell you what the market is willing to pay for that item. It's kind of a catch-22 sometimes. You might have a really great item that's really popular and on trend, but it might be saturated in the market, so you have to kind of think about that when you're pricing it competitively. On the other hand, you might have a very rare item. So in fact, it's so rare that you can't find it anywhere else. And it's kind of hard to figure out, well, where should I really price it? How do I value this? But that could be really a silver lining for you because it is rare, whether it's a vintage piece or a high-end designer bag that nobody else has. It really gives you leverage as a seller to determine at what price point you want to list that at. So always keep in mind you want to list that item higher than your target price. The reason why it's also beneficial, it gives you more wiggle room to negotiate, which is pretty imperative if you're going to be on the Poshmark app. But the other nice thing about it is during specific times of the year, you might decide to do price drops. And a price drop is exactly what it sounds like. You drop the price, and anyone who has ever liked that item is notified that you've dropped that price, as long as you're dropping that price by at least 10%. So again, I'll repeat that. You've got to drop the item by at least 10% for them to be notified. So for example, if an item is listed at $50 and you drop the price by $4, they're not going to get notified that you've dropped that price. Here's another helpful hint for you. Make sure you like your own listings. Why? Because if you like your own listing, when you do those price drops, you'll get the notification as well that an item you liked is dropped in price by 11% or whatever the case may be. That way you know, all right, people who've liked this item have received that notification. And you can kind of keep tabs on it that way. Before you start dropping your prices though, obviously you want to accrue a lot of likes on that item. So sharing your closet and listings multiple times throughout the day is very imperative. The more likes you have, if that item has not sold, then when you do the price drop, more people are going to be notified of that listing. Another great way to take advantage of price drops is when Poshmark decides to do something called closet clear out. So you typically see them doing closet clear outs during holidays, for example, Mother's Day, any of the major holidays. You can kind of anticipate, all right, Poshmark's probably going to do a closet clear out. Closet clear out is in a way to incentivize you as a seller to drop your prices by at least 10%. Not only will the people who've liked that item be notified that you've dropped that price, but then Poshmark also will reduce shipping. So, obviously the goal is that someone who sees an item that's dropped in price now can also benefit from a reduced shipping cost, therefore really motivating them to make that purchase now as opposed to waiting. With that in mind, if you do decide to raise the price back up to the original price the next day, and let's say several weeks go by and you decide to do a reduction in the price again, the reduced price notification is only activated if you're reducing the price by 10% of the last or of the lowest price that's ever been listed. I hope that makes sense. So let's say, for example, you had an item that was listed at $50. You wanted to do a price reduction on that, whether it be for a closet clear out or just because you felt like doing it on the weekend, whatever the case is, you reduce it by 10%. So now it's, instead of $50, it's $45. Everybody's been notified of that, and you still didn't have anyone make that purchase. Let's say the next day you decide to raise the price back up again to $50. Another week or two passes by, you want to reduce the price on that item again to see if maybe this time someone will actually want to purchase it. If you lower it to $45 again, it doesn't trigger a notification to anyone who's ever liked the item that you've reduced it, because it needs to be 10% lower than the lowest actual price. So for example, it would need to be 10% lower than the $45 that you had originally lowered it to when you did your first price reduction. I really hope that makes sense. I'm not sure if I explained it really well. So if you have some questions about that, let me know. I apologize in advance. I'm kind of thinking as I'm talking, probably not the smartest idea. So keep that in mind whenever you're pricing your item too. Think ahead of time. You know, if there's a closet clear out around, say, Memorial Day, and this item still hasn't sold, I want to drop the price maybe by 10% because it'll notify everyone who's ever liked the item, you know, that I've reduced the price, plus they'll get reduced shipping. Think about the time of day also when you do the price reduction. When I've reduced the price on an item, I tend to get more interest when I reduce it either really early in the morning, like maybe 7 a.m., or later in the afternoon, early evening when people are coming home from work, and they actually have time to get on their phone at that point and check out the app. So if you decide to do a price reduction in the middle of the day, say at like 11 o'clock, when people are really in the full swing of their routines, they're at work, they're in conferences, whatever the case may be, not a lot of people are going to see that. It doesn't mean that if you reduce your price in the middle of the day, no one's going to take you up on it. Sure, there are definitely exceptions, but I think by and large, most people are going to be on the app really early in the morning before they head off to work, and then in the evening when they're home. You want to be careful how often you do price reductions. You don't want to do them all of the time, because then you're setting up a pattern that your buyers will be expecting you to lower your prices all the time. So it's a great strategy, it's a great tool, it can be very effective, but you don't want to overkill it either. We already talked a little bit about bulk likes, meaning the more and more people like the item, that's when you should really price drop. If you only have 2 likes on the item and you do a price drop on it, those 2 people are going to get notified, and that's it. So I try to build up enough likes and then do a price drop if I need to. Another question that I get asked a lot about though is, okay Kim, I have shared the item multiple times, I've got so many likes on it, I've price dropped the item not once but twice, and it's just been sitting in my closet for months. I don't understand. So a few things that you can think about is maybe have different angles, different pictures, a better hero image, so to speak, to maybe draw people in. Maybe go back into the description and see if there's any pieces of information that you may be missing. But after all of that, if it's just not working, it's time to refresh. And what I mean by that is I actually just delete the listing completely. It doesn't matter how many likes I've had. I don't care if I've had 100 likes on that item. If it's been sitting in my closet for months, those people aren't going to buy it. So I'm going to delete the listing, and then I'm going to list it again. And now it's going to show up as a new listing in my closet, and it'll show up in the new listing section of the app. And so it gets a little bit more exposure that way, as opposed to me just sharing that item day in and day out like I have been doing for the last several months. And that is a way to kind of kickstart and rejuvenate that listing and get more people interested in it. It just shows up higher on the feeds when you've added it as a new listing. Hopefully that makes sense. So these are just some of the general parameters that I work within whenever I am pricing an item out. If you have additional feedback, tips, questions, please share with me. We're a community, so we're better when we work together. And I also have a couple of additional topics that I'll be discussing in some future YouTube videos. One of those is the bundling feature, and how you can use that bundling feature to your advantage. So stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. If I get more subscribers, then I feel like, all right, I should do more of these videos and really help new poshers. Definitely give it a thumbs up. And until next time, you guys enjoy buying and selling on the app. I wish you speedy sales, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks.